Okay, and now we're going to start the third part of the presentation, which is where we're going to focus on the results for just a little bit here. You're not going to be asked to write up a results section, but I will go through with you some things about the result. Some of you, a couple of you in the class are in the statistics class. If you want to write this down, you can. You won't really be tested on this because this is not a statistics class, but the website that you would want to go to is www.graphpad.com. You're not going to be asked to write about this or do anything with this, but it's called www.graphpad.com. And for those in the statistics class, do you remember which part we go to? Quick calcs. So this would be in a results section, but you're not going to be asked to do this. And what kind of statistic are we going to do here? Does anybody know?
A t-test.
Say again?
Isn't it a t-test?
It's going to be a t-test. We're going to do a t-test on this situation. So we're going to move into this and continue. So it's going to be a t-test to compare two means. Come on, nice thing. Nope, don't want that. I can do it. I can do it. Say again? Oh, move that. There we go. So we're going to do a t-test to continue to compare two means. So this might be a little bit important at some point. Will it be an unpaired t-test or a paired t-test? It'll be a paired t-test here. What would I want to label group 1? What was one level of my variable here?
Organized.
Organized. What was the second level?
Random.
Random. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in for the 10 participants the data here. So we have, and you don't need to have this for your recording, but we have 16 for subject 1 there. Tab over. It'll be 8. Subject 2, it's going to be 14 and 6. If you want to write this down, you can. You don't have to. For subject, the third subject, it's going to be 14 and 8. For subject, that's not subject 4 here, but that's okay. For the fourth person, it's going to be 16 and 11. For the next subject, it's going to be 10 and 5. 10 and 5. Whoops. Didn't do my 10 too well there, did I? 10 and 5. And 11, 10 and 5, there we go. The next subject is going to be 16 and 12. For the online folks, don't worry if you don't have this. You can just write the numbers in if you wish. For the next subject, it's going to be 16 and 14. How many total items were there on the list? There were 20 words, exactly. That might be important to note in what part of your paper? 14 and 5 in the materials. Then we have 16 16 and 19. $16, $19 there. And last but not least, for subject 10, we have 11 and 7. So that is the data set. Now, we're not in the statistics class here, but for those who are in that class, you want to do a computation by hand here, or would you just like the computer to do this for us? Any thoughts about that? How many people would like to do this by hand? So everybody says, so should we have the computer just do this for us? Yes, why don't we go ahead and do that? So we're going to do a paired t-test on this. Do the data actually look supportive of the researcher's hypothesis? They pretty much do, except for one of the 10 participants. Subject number 9 looks like they did a little bit better in the random condition. That's okay. So let's calculate now. We hit the magic button, calculate now, and for the folks at home or on the online course in here, this would be important to know. So the top line tells us, actually let's do a little bit here. What does this screen tell you? What was the mean for people in the organized condition? On average, how many words did people get right in the organized condition? 14.3. Now, if you had to write this up, where would this go in your paper?
Results.
This would go in the results, but we're not going to have you write a results here. How about in the random condition? How much did people recall? 9.5. So about 4.8 better there. And so we do the paired sample t-test. And when you do the paired sample t-test, it tells you the probability of getting this result due to chance for your notes is what? It says P equals
00.0019.
It says P equals 0.0019. P equals 0.0019. Good news or bad news?
Good news. Is it significant?
Good news, because any p-value that's less than 0.05 is
Significant.
statistically significant. So the only thing you'll need to write up, if you're going to write up a result section, we got a statistically significant result here. What's the real world conclusion? What's the real world conclusion here? Was the hypothesis supported? Please don't use the word prove or non-significant or disproved, but we found support for the hypothesis. Now we have to talk about writing up a discussion. That was very brief on the results. You will not be tested on using GraphPad in here. Who gets to be tested on using GraphPad? The stats class. Don't worry, they're having a lot of fun there. And by the way, if you're in the stats class, did you get the announcement about today? Yes, they'll be. I'm being observed. What's that?
By Dr. Walker.
By Dr. Walker. Yes, that's right. And I'm going over and teaching at Murphy Deming this afternoon, and I will be observed again. Gee, I hope I'm on my game today. Or else I'll have to do new traps and chess openings. Okay, so with that being stated, the idea is, let's talk about a discussion section. What are the components to writing a discussion section?
Stating what your findings are.
Stating what your findings are usually the first part of it. Can we state what we found? Usually paragraphs are 3 sentences long. It's going to take a little bit of work to do that here, but you can say, Maybe start off with the hypothesis. What was the hypothesis? People would recall more organic words in an organized word list than a random word list. The paired t-test indicated what? What did the paired t-test indicate? You don't have to write out any t statement, but what did it indicate? A statistically significant improvement for the organized word list over the random. Maybe sentence 3 will say, in the organized condition, the participants recalled almost what? Was it 4 or 5 words more? Was it 4 more words? There it is. Yeah, approximately 4 more words than in the random condition. That's going to be that part of the paper. So your first section of your discussion will say that. What other things do you have in a discussion? What are the other components to writing a discussion? What else do you?
Some of the limitations.
Strengths and weaknesses. You have strengths and weaknesses. Anything else?
Why you got the results that you did.
So maybe instead of why, maybe you would relate them back to the literature. You would relate them back to the literature. I call it literature tie-in. And finally,
ideas for other studies.
Ideas for the future. And let me say a little bit more about that. In the last module of this class, you're going to be working on kind of an annotated bibliography and a research proposal. This is a research-based class, and I'm going to actually ask you to come up with some sort of proposal on a future experiment. I wanted to save the memory part of the class for kind of the last main unit here. I'm thinking that some of you may have some proposals, and you might want to write your proposal and your bibliography on memory and some ideas for future studies. If you do want to do attention or language or problem solving, you can certainly do that as well. But it seemed like to me memory would be a pretty simple thing to do. So you'll have these sections of your paper. God bless you. Does that make sense for folks? I think the last thing I want to do here, and I'll cut the recording here,